taken what seems to be just under a 20-minute tea break this time around. Julius Mkhwanazi is the suspended EMPD police commissioner, we've been corrected, who is appearing before this inquiry. He, of course, is seen as a central figure in the alleged capture of the EMPD, especially in relation to that blue light saga, which I imagine he's building up to. It's been a bit of a slow burner this Wednesday morning. A lot of context that we're starting with. A considerable amount of time was taken, for example, to allow Julius Mkhwanazi to take us through his credentials and professional titles. And in fact, we'll take you back to one of those moments in just a bit. But towards the tail end of what I call the first run of his testimony today, he was speaking about the controversy surrounding cars associated with Vusimuzi Cat Matlala's company landing up with, some kind of authority from the EMPD. And essentially the picture that Julius Mkhwanazi is painting is that Cat Matlala's company was apparently prepared to donate these vehicles to the EMPD. And as we're getting to the heart of, I suppose, the controversy around that, we went into this this expected tea break. But let me take you back to at least the point of Julius Mkhwanazi's early statements, where he spoke about his credentials and highlighted his rise through the EMPD. Take a listen.
My leadership journey continued in 2014 when I was appointed Chief Superintendent for Specialized Services at EMPD, reporting directly to the director until 2019. That year I was promoted to Director Specialized Services, overseeing 14 specialized units and task teams established to address critical challenges. These included the drug unit, taxi task team, truck hijacking task team, the illegal mining task team, among others. In this role, I reported to the Deputy Chief of Police. As a director, I reported to the Deputy Chief of Police. I was subsequently promoted to a Deputy Chief of Police for EMPD Operation and Specialized Services, position that I continued to date. I was appointed 2023.
Right, later on in his testimony, we finally got wind of how he came to know Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. Take a listen.
My relation with Mr. Matlala, it started in 2022. After my team members introduced me to Mr. Mike van Wyk, the director of Medicare 24 in Boksburg.
What was the connection? Yes.
No, when you Cat VIP security, yes, that was owned by Mr. Vusimuzi. When you enter, that time when you enter...
Yeah, you see, it's exactly at that point.
Yes.
So this entity is owned by Mr. Matlala, but you go to Mr. van Wyk when you want Cat VIP protection services to assist. So I want to understand why Mr. van Wyk and not Mr. Matlala.
Yes. When you enter at the Medicare, when you enter at Boksburg Medicare 24, there are photos of all the directors, you see. Next to Mr. Mike van Wyk, there's a photo of Mr. Vusimuzi. You see, and there are other, I think there were about 10 photos of those directors.
Kenny Mapanga is our senior reporter who's watching the Madlanga Commission, and she joins us now live from inside the Bridget Mabanda Justice College. And Kenny, as I mentioned earlier, we've spent a considerable amount of time hearing Julius Mkhwanazi explaining his rise through the ranks, and we're just getting to the meat, if you like, of his relations with Matlala and how Matlala's vehicles ended up as being seen as part of the fleet of the EMPD.
Indeed. Good morning to you, Ayanda, and to the viewers at home. We saw that at the tail end of the testimony, we only got a serious understanding, or rather got a glimpse of what is going to be the defense about the meat of the testimony, that is the operation of those particular vehicles from Vusimuzi Cat Matlala's VIP Protection Services firm towards the EMPD. But I think it's important to start from the beginning so that we understand exactly what the evidence is is, or what he is trying to convey as Commissioner Julius Mkhwanazi, as he has corrected us earlier this morning. So essentially what we saw is him go through an extensive list of his, I guess, career and his achievements and his rise in the ranks. I think this is seemingly to address the allegations that this was a new kid on the block that seemingly quickly rised to the top ranks of the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department, allegedly due to that close proximity that he allegedly shared with the former Ekurhuleni city manager, that is Dr. Mkhwanazi. He then moves on to the testimony relating to how he allegedly first learned of this character of Vusimuzi, Cat Matlala. He places it in the COVID environment that is, I think, the year 2022, or maybe backtracks and says 2021. But essentially he says that he first hears of this particular company that is Medicare through his colleagues, and that when he went to Medicare, that is when he saw that Vusimuzi Cat Matlala was one of the directors, and of course he learned that they wanted to work with them. He's seemingly painting a picture that the city of Ekurhuleni, or rather the EMPD, was in a position where they lacked resources, and it is against that backdrop that this, I guess, collaboration, which he seeks to cleanse before this Madlanga Commission, is being placed before the probe. He then turns around to political information, or rather particular information about the operation or the donation of those vehicles. Now, what is critical about that information is that we allegedly heard that this donation took place regarding the, I guess, the formalization of this agreement between the two parties. But what we're hearing from the evidence that has already been led before the Commission is that although the donation took place, the vehicles never went to the city of Ekurhuleni's fleet, meaning that they were registered under the city, allegedly fitted with blue lights. However, they still were in the company of Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. Now that raises questions because of the alleged criminality that accompanies this name that we're hearing. So what were these vehicles doing? What was the purposes of fitting them with blue lights? We're now hearing from Commissioner Mkhwanazi that the fleet was in a position where they didn't have enough vehicles, and that they wanted to up the status of the vehicles in order for the city to have these kinds of vehicles for their councillors, for events such as the State of the City address. However, he's not explaining why Vusimuzi Cat Matlala would have given these vehicles for free. He attributes it to a marketing strategy. However, because of the evidence we have heard relating to Vusimuzi Cat Matlala, not only from intelligence, but from the EMPD as well as the unlawful nature of this particular agreement, it raises questions regarding the period in which those vehicles were fitted with those blue lights allegedly by Mkhwanazi, and the fact that they actually weren't in the city and they weren't operating within the city at that time. So what was the true purpose behind fitting those vehicles with blue lights? And of course, what were those vehicles doing at that time that they enjoyed the status of law enforcement through the fitting of those blue lights? We've just gotten into the meat of that particular testimony. That is one of the critical questions that Commissioner Mkhwanazi will have to answer to, and I'm sure after the lunch adjournment, or rather tea adjournment, that is when Advocate Silo SC will get into the nitty-gritty of the agreement, which seems to be highly irregular and lawful. And of course, there have been concessions by Dr. Mkhwanazi to that effect about this particular agreement, and his explanation regarding painting this as a simple donation. However, it seems that the cars never actually entered that fleet or were driven on the region's roads as part of the EMPD, I guess, operations, but instead stayed directly in the physical custody of Vusimuzi Cat Matlala's private security firm and continued to ferry on that roads. And we've seen through social media that Mama Cat was using those vehicles with those blue lights. Still more questions hang in the balance. And of course, the meat of that testimony was only addressed at the tail end. So we expect that after the tea adjournment, he'll continue to give more details about his version regarding these unlawful agreements that we've already heard about in the Commission, and of course the subsequent alleged elements of criminality that he led allegedly in a parallel structure at the EMPD under the city of Ekurhuleni.
I imagine there's also going to be a lot of interest in that operational plan that he says Revo Spies actually forged as he presented that to the Commission. Kenny Mapanga, live to us there from the Bridget Mabandla Justice College. Thanks very much indeed. All right, you can see on the side of your screen there, we're also watching very closely the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial after yesterday's abrupt adjournment, with several people being taken in for questioning inside the courtroom for an alleged plot to try and eliminate. That's the term that police used, to eliminate some people who are part of the state's case. It seems to be business as usual the day after, but of course, as soon as there's any other movement, we'll take you there live.